I want to perpetuate my genes. I want to leave a legacy. This is where the ego stops pretending to be subtle. It is the rallying cry of the biologically insecure, a desperate attempt to manufacture meaning from the cold mechanics of replication. At its core, this motive is about symbolic immortality. The body will age, the mind will decay, death is non-negotiable, so the solution becomes replication, a biological echo that carries your name, your DNA, your story forward. It feels like continuity and defiance, but logically, it's paper armor against extinction. We must strip away the sentiment and look at the chemistry. You are not a soul, you are a temporary arrangement of matter. When you claim you want to pass on your genes, you are speaking of a chemical sequence, nucleotides that are largely indistinguishable from the 8 billion other bipeds currently crowding the planet. The human genome is more than 99% identical across the species. Your unique contribution is a rounding error. The obsession with your specific DNA treats it as a rare artifact, but in reality, your genes are common biological instructions circulating through a saturated species. There is nothing uniquely sacred about your strand of DNA. Furthermore, the math of procreation is a slow-motion suicide of the self. Your child is not you. They are not your continuation. They are a genetically shuffled organism who may resemble you in fragments and diverge completely in personality, values, and direction. You pass on only half of your genes. In that very first step, you have already lost 50% of the legacy you claim to cherish. By the third generation, your specific genetic contribution is statistically diluted into near irrelevance. You are chasing a ghost that thins out until it vanishes into the atmospheric noise of the gene pool. The legacy dissolves faster than the fantasy suggests. We see the proof in the earth beneath our feet. Archaeologists constantly unearth mass graves, tangled piles of bone and teeth that once belonged to people who harbored the same delusions of grandeur you do. No one knows who those people were. No one knows their names, their favorite songs, or how many children they labored to produce. Those children are dead. Their children's children are dust. No amount of offspring made any difference to their ultimate erasure. They believed their blood was a river. It turned out to be a drop in an ocean of anonymity. Time erases everyone with absolute efficiency. In a couple of hundred years, you will not be a memory. You will be a forgotten data point in a census record that no one will ever read. Creating a new person does not defeat oblivion. It merely postpones it by a negligible margin while multiplying vulnerability. This is where the ego reveals its true cruelty. In order to soothe your discomfort with impermanence, you create a being who must now face impermanence themselves. You fear disappearing, so you manufacture someone who will also disappear. You fear suffering, so you create a nervous system capable of feeling it. They will inherit not your immortality, but your mortality. This is not transcendence. It is the duplication of the same fundamental problem. It is a biological Ponzi scheme where the legacy is paid for by the inevitable death of the next person in line. The legacy argument assumes your genetic line deserves continuation. On what grounds? Most people claiming legacy are not genius architects of civilization. They are ordinary humans replicating ordinary biology. Even if you were a genius, there is no guarantee the shuffled deck of your child's DNA would produce anything of the sort. You are gamble playing with a life that isn't yours to satisfy a vanity that won't survive your own funeral. The truth is uncomfortable. The desire for genetic continuity is a mask for the fear of insignificance. It is an attempt to matter cosmically in a universe that does not distribute meaning on request. But meaning is not extracted from the void by reproduction. It is constructed within a life, and that life does not need to spawn another to justify itself. Strip away the Hallmark cards and the family values rhetoric, and the structure is clear. I will create a person so that a version of me continues. But that version is a lie. It is an autonomous being who must navigate a dangerous, decaying world because you were uncomfortable with disappearing quietly. The legacy you truly pass on is not your DNA. It is exposure to suffering. It is a death sentence gift-wrapped in a name. And no one can justify that by appealing to the survival of their mediocre chemistry. The fact that you reproduce means nothing and changes nothing, and no amount of bloodline pride can justify the cruelty of forcing a new person to face the void just because you were too coward to face it alone.